Bill Belko wants to know how long before the crash. Bill, I don't know. There's no question that something terrible is coming, economically and politically. There's no question about it. And by the way, I just noticed for the first time, we haven't had any ads tonight, have we? I haven't seen an ad yet. Oh my God, I should have kept my mouth shut. Anyway, I don't know. Here's what worries me. One of the things that comforts me is we don't seem to be seeing any immediate signs of an economic crash. We see indications, needless to say, this enormous debt, where the confidence, the substructure, the foundation is being eaten by termites. As kind of this dry rot is occurring, and we've got a lot of weight up there. And we keep putting more and more weight on a foundation that gets weaker and weaker and weaker. So while I don't see any immediate signs of a crash, the problem is you don't often get a lot of immediate signs of a crash. Sometimes these things happen pretty quickly. I think the signs will be runaway inflation. The people who know about economics say that's the thing that we'll start to see is serious inflation and then runaway inflation. And runaway inflation can happen very, very quickly and just destroy people's life savings in the space of a year or two. One of the great things I remember reading was somebody said, I don't remember where this quote comes from, but somebody asked a guy, they said, how did you go bankrupt? Rich guy said, how'd you go bankrupt? And he said, slowly at first and then very quickly. And I think, yeah, I think that's it. Slowly at first and then very quickly. And that's what I worry about in terms of the crash. I'm worried that right now we're seeing signs of things that are happening slowly and then suddenly things can happen very quickly. So look, I'm not one of these guys running around with my hair on fire screaming about all these things, but it's time to get prepared. It's time to be thinking about having a bunch of food on supply and what your plan is to, hang on being on a city and all that stuff. So, well, that's probably a whole episode right there. So we'll come back to that sometime. But look, be careful out there. Be ready. And don't do anything to help these people. Try and stop it. One way or another, we're going to get through this. I mean, people, the reason we're in this trouble is because there is no pain. The previous question is what's best in life. This life in the 20th century, there's no pain. 21st century, caught myself, that's where I live. There's no pain. No one pays any pain for anything. We haven't even felt the pain of Obamacare yet. That's why people vote for socialism, because it sounds nice, it feels good, and there's no pain. Well, people learn through pain. I'm a believer in spanking. And we haven't been spanked in 40 years. That's why we're turning into a nation of brats that's rolling around on the floor at the Walmart, screaming and kicking and wailing and crying and demanding a toy. So we're going to need some pain, and that pain is coming. And the sooner the pain gets here, the less pain it will take. And this is why I thought, this election is just, this last election, is we're going to get what we deserve. And then we'll get through it, and we'll be on the other side, and we'll be better people. It's going to hurt for a while, but we'll be better people on the other side. Funny thing, by the way, whenever you talk to people who've lived through great catastrophes, my mom was a child during the Blitz in London, and she got evacuated out to the country. She remembers German bombers and bombs going off and being in the subway down in the tube, and seeing Churchill. And you talk about people who lived through the Depression or World War II, or even during the Civil War, the veterans of the Civil War. What's so interesting is, when you get people who've lived through times of incredible hardship and they come to the end of their life, if they were in comfort and then incredible hardship and then comfort again, they find that when they talk about their life looking back, they always remember the hardship as being the best times of their lives. Something about it, something about the shared sacrifice, something about overcoming things. We're wired for that, I believe. I really do. I think we're wired for that. And we don't have it, and that's why we feel lost. And I think we're going to get some of it. But even if we do, we're going to be okay, because we're bright, smart, hardworking people, and there's a lot more of us than we think there are. So, as always, there will be a remnant. That's a term that Albert Nock used in an essay called, what was it called? It's flown away from me. It's a remarkable essay. It's about one of the prophets basically being told by God that you're going to go out there, you're going to do this work that I want you to do, and no one's going to listen to you, and no one's going to notice, and no one's going to pay any attention. And he says, well, what God, I've forgotten the name of the prophet. Somebody's going to come up with it in a second here. And he basically replies to God. He said, well, if no one's going to notice, then why would I do it? And God basically says, because somewhere downstream, somebody will remember what you said. Somebody will think maybe it's an original thought, but this idea that this remnant, this collection of people who keep this spirit of civilization and science and medicine and poetry, all that stuff. There's small numbers, always been a small number of people that will survive, and that the remnant will always be there. And you can't sell to the remnant. You can't pitch to the remnant. You can't even organize the remnant. The remnant doesn't even know they're the remnant. I suppose I'm a member of the remnant because I'm talking about the remnant. But anybody who's watching the show is, and anybody who's worried about these things probably is. And even though the vast majority of people have lost their way, they've always lost their way. And when things are good, they can afford to lose their way. When things get bad, it's going to be up to people like us to make sure that we get through this and we get through to the other side by doing the right things, by organizing things. That's an essay I wrote called Tribes, which was probably the best thing I wrote is on eject, eject, eject. Certainly the most influential thing I ever wrote. Basically said, look, they were talking about, rapes and, and potential murders in the Superdome and stuff right after Katrina. And I just said, my tribe doesn't do that. My tribe knows how to ration food, and my tribe knows how to boil water, and my tribe knows how to do all those things. So somebody's going to have to be there, and we're all going to have to be there together, and we'll get through this just fine. We always have, and we'll get some pain, and we'll take our pain, and we'll come through, and we'll look back on it as the high point of our lives. Strangely enough, yeah. Anyway, that was a great question, Bill.